Hello and welcome to another episode of Grade My Logo, the show where we take logos you've submitted at grademylogo.com and review them and workshop them a little bit and see if there's another possible idea out there. Today, I am joined for the first time ever in Grade My Logo history by an amazing co-host, Rachel Baker.
Hi, Josh. Wow, a co-host already. I feel like I already got promoted, even though it's my first time.
Rachel, as you are a first-time guest here co-host, friend on Grade My Logo, I wanted to walk through the grading system for you and our TV audience at home. So if you remember, we're given 25 points for any one of these things. We're evaluating every logo kind of based on this. Some of these are pretty binary, like, black and white. And then others are a little bit more subjective, and you and I will get to kind of assign kind of pick numbers there, right? And just a quick reminder, the purpose of this show and this stuff is not to expose other designers. We're all kind of, at least I am incredibly sick of the review sites that throw something up and then the comments are just the most abhorrent things you've ever heard people say to or about each other. And it's like, guys, please, it's kerning, like, relax. It's okay. And there's usually more than one right answer. That's one of the things that's been super, super cool about, I don't think we talked about this in this opener, but like, you are on the Bright Coal team. And so like you and Ryan and Mariano, like seeing the stuff that you guys come back with and we're all like working from or thinking about the same brief is like always super fascinating to me. Like there's not a like set right answer. I think that's one of the things that keeps logo design fun. Mm-hmm. And then the last guys here really just like, obviously these would be wildly different conversations of the clients in the room, which would be ideal for me. Like I feel like clients have the amazing like gold nuggets that we need to like pull out of them, and they don't realize it. They think like, oh, you're the designer, like we trust you. Heard that 1,000 times, and they have the idea that actually makes it fresh and amazing. So we're, cut us some slack, guys. We're taking some guesses here. All right, we're today going to be talking about HighView Church. Let's grade it against our little system here. Rachel, does it work in single color?
I would say yes. Looks
full
like
marks. Is it scalable? Let's just pull the little icon down. I mean, I don't know. Is that like the size of like a dime? Or that's smaller than a dime on my screen, and that you can still see all the lines. It's clear.
I would give it full marks for that.
Wow, trucking along already. Setting up for a high score. Does it tell a story?
I would say there is a story there for sure. I mean, it feels like it jives with the name HighView. I do feel like I've seen it before, but I would probably give it 20 out of 25.
That was exactly the number I was thinking about. Because there's that concept, I forget where it came from. It was definitely not an original thought from me, but that in design work, like you've got stoplights or stop signs that you can take, and like you can take turns and go. And sometimes when you're in a hurry or you are nervous or you heard yes from somebody, you like stop exploring other stuff. But like this feels like, hey, we found an idea. It works. Let's roll with it. Like I would be curious to see like what else is out there. And maybe there's not other things out there. And then Josh and Rachel's completely biased, subjective opinion. Just like, do you like the thing? Do you think it's a nice logo? What's your score there?
I'm going to go with a 16, I think, out of 25. I think it's well executed. But like I said, I feel like I've seen it. And I think there's some ways that we can tighten up the typography on it to make it a little bit more user-friendly.
Just that much like tighter, like closer together, just completely smushed on top of each other.
No space between letters. I want negative 100 tracking on the whole thing.
Brett, that was the that's a fun game to play. I don't know how you would like format it, but like, what were the design trends when you were like a baby designer? For me, it was like Futura, and everything's like crunched together, like everything's like has no breathing room whatsoever. And so my score on this, I was going to give it an 18, which is actually fairly high for the ones that we'll split the difference at 17. And then they do get bonus points because they submitted not just the logo, but like all this stuff, which is pretty cool. And it's vector, so we can just rip it in here real nicely. It's real nice. Got it at Target. We'll give them that. Well, actually, I think it really throws things off if you get too many bonus points. So we'll stick with 5. Now is the part of the show that everybody signs up for. It's the most exciting, best part where we do math. 50 plus 70. I don't know what math system this is that I use, but this is sometimes I don't count up numbers.
I'm glad you're doing it and not me. We'd be here for 45 minutes.
Whoa, we got a 92. That's an A-. That's a pretty high grade.
That's good. There's my AP English grade right there.
Wow.
Maybe.
Got a smart lady on our hands.
Oh, yeah. I just dropped that I was an AP, everyone.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Very demure.
Very mindful.
All right. So now it's our turn to say, like, okay, if we were going to do something different, like, what will we do here? My brain first goes to the type choices. But I also am now kind of walking that back because I feel like this is the opportunity to share some of the personality. And it's me and Rachel. We're guessing. We don't know the personality, so I don't want to like go guess and take some bold stance in just kind of a random direction. So maybe let's rock and roll with Helvetica. Let's play with that. But you had some other thoughts about that piece of it. What were you thinking?
Yeah, my sort of general opinion is when you have a church word mark and you have the word church in it, usually that should be the secondary feature. That doesn't necessarily need to be the first one. I would tend to emphasize the unique part of the name over the what it is, which is the church. I think that's probably self-explanatory in most contexts. And so emphasizing HighView and making church a second fiddle, either with you make it smaller, you change the typeface, you kind of nestle it below, I think is appropriate in a lot of church names.
Yeah, I would intensely agree. While this one, like the name is pretty like approachable. Like it's not a long word. It's not bad. Like it doesn't stack poorly. It's not super wide. But like, if you're driving past this puppy at 50 miles an hour, can you take this up? Did I? Okay, cool. Made a copy. I want to make sure I'm messing up our original here. Just like visually scanning both of these, this guy over here is like easier to read and like mentally digest, right? And doing that exact thing that you just said of like, hey, same font family, just treat it a little bit differently, like make the special thing feel special.
Yeah, and if I was really redesigning this brand, even though Helvetica is great, it feels perhaps that it lacks a little personality. So I would stick with the chunky sans serif vibe and just maybe find a font with a more interesting G or just one character that has a little more personality to it.
HighView, like something more like this, like more bones.
It needs more bones. I'm glad you said it because I was thinking it.
I was thinking it this whole time. Just not enough skeletons. I say that. I don't know. I can't remember who got assigned the project, but we did get. They legitimately like wanted like a skull with some kind of flower. I should know the flower, but like we're designing a skull logo right now, and I'm pretty stoked on it.
Metal. There are biker churches out there.
For sure.
That we need to do some leather jackets for.
I saw, okay, so you've got a denim jacket on your Instagram. Is that, it's truth-telling time.
Yeah.
Is that, how do I look you? Are you Rachel Baker? Rachel Brands?
It's Rachel Brands with an underscore, which was probably a terrible Instagram handle move.
No. First of all, this made me laugh actually out loud. I know it's a trend, and I couldn't resist that chunky little baby hippo. Everybody loves Moodang.
Actually, speaking of, this is totally off topic, but I did make stickers. The Moodang.
For real?
Yeah.
Hold up. How do I make you the
person?
Wow.
Yeah. That's just so nice. for your friends and family. So nothing to do with this. You can edit that out if you like.
No, did you? I love that. Because there's somewhere where someone can buy this.
I am working on potentially a store, but they were intended for an art show that may or may not happen because of Helene. So we will see. I will get them in hands. Yes. Oh, yes. This is my biker gang jacket. If I was in a biker gang, it would be so
very tough, very mean, very mindful. Yeah. What?
No,
this is real though. Like, you painted this on a jacket, or do you have a mock-up that you just? Because have I seen this before?
That is real. It is in my closet, which I can pull out, but I don't know if the audience wants to see that, but it is.
I think we see it here, but that's sick.
It is.
That is crazy cool.
It took a long time, and I was flying blind. I didn't really sketch it or anything beforehand, but it was a good time.
Well, that's what you were saying about you and I were both a part of the same poster show, and realizing that you spent, what did you say, 60 hours on your submission, and I spent like a smooth 2 hours on mine. It's just like, God.
Which just proves that Josh can design something equally as good in 1/30th of the time that it takes.
I don't think so, because how many posters did you sell at that thing? Because I didn't sell any. So
really, that's surprising. Trellis is.
I mean, people like Trellis, but like, it's an art show. There's so much cool stuff there, and there's like 30 cool things to buy. Yeah. All right, so I've got some. I don't know if I call them rules or more of like thoughts about how to measure things. And like, a lot of times I'm going from like the X height here, but on this one, my eye keeps going to this part of the H, like whatever icon we land on is going to sit over here. And I mean, do you agree with that kind of assessment of the size there? Yeah,
I feel like centering the icon with HighView, I'd nudge it, like a little closer. I honestly, really rad designers have super mathematical methods for this, and I kind of just design by the spirit and just whatever looks good.
The spirit leads.
Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should actually measure, but
Oh no, we're measuring this. I'm just keep scooting stuff around until I feel good about it like this. If you draw enough guidelines, eventually it'll be so small that it like actually is what you're already doing, and it just justifies what you're doing. Okay. Yeah, like I saw this, and I know we've talked about this before too. Is like I have done things like it does take work to like do this and make everything like measured out, but I've found that a lot of times like really great work can't do this, right? And so I don't know, it just feels like a little bit like, unless I really need to draw attention to something, to the fact that it's, hey, like we measured it, like you're battling me on this, but like this is the right way to do this, right? As I say, oh, it's all just kind of subjective.
Yeah. I feel like maybe this is the cynical designer in me, that's meant to more impress clients or pull a quick one than necessarily an integral part of the design process.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but I'm also, nobody's ever like clapping their hands and say, Josh, wow, you did such a really polished thing there. It's like, hey, that was a good idea. don't know about the execution, but like, man, I like the heart behind it. All right, so this is just kind of like rework, and already to me this feels pretty nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can't throw darts at the concept here and then not also take a stab at working on it. In the spirit of the refresh, I think we should probably stick with keep working with these lines. What's your like, other than like the whole concept of like, hey, look, is there something more interesting here? What are you thinking is the biggest opportunity for improvement? Is a nice way to say it.
Yeah, I think I always gravitate towards icons that match the visual weight of the word mark. And so I think we could probably take out one of the lines. I feel like, 4 is too many. In the Bible, there's lots of 3 symbolism. So you could kind of take the 3 mountaintop lines and maybe make that mean something a little bit deeper versus 4. Save yourself some space. Maybe play around with thickening the strokes on it. It depends on how complex of a story we want to tell in that circle. Maybe thin lines is the right move, depending on how much needs to get in that space.
That is a fascinating one that you guys, I mean, you've been in plenty of like client meetings before, but for like I know specifically for churches, like so much of the time it's like, hey, we want this, like, we really want like these 3 or 4 values like displayed in the logo, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. That means we're probably doing like single weight line art, and I want to reset the bounding marks. What is going on?
I don't know why on squares sometimes it doesn't let you do that. It's baffling to me.
Ugh, so gross.
It's really rude.
Soup's gross. But yeah, like sometimes they're like, hey, we want it to be something like just the needs and people's definition of success for a logo can be like super, super different. And that's where you really need to have the client in the room, because sometimes one man's trash and all that jazz. All right, let's get the iteration station, because I am realizing this is a very different one from a lot of the other Grade My logos. A lot of times my step 1 is like pull out the hatchet and destroy everything and start over. And in this one, we're really kind of like finessing the video. And I don't know. Yeah. This feels like a little simple.
They had a solid foundation to start from. And I think, like we talked about in the beginning, they maybe had stopped at the first stop sign, and we can maybe take it to the next one and just
take it to the bridge.
Take it to the bridge, make it just a little bit more unique to them.
I mean, you know where I always want to go though, like thinking about like HighView, like let's put an eyeball in that mother.
That's the Lord Sauron's corporate Mount Doom logo for Orcs Incorporated.
Oh yeah, that would not get approved, so we'll keep moving.
I love the shapes though. There is something very interesting. It's giving CBS from like 1960.
Ooh.
You know?
Yeah, that's the thing that That's my big problem with church work is you don't get to do a lot of eyeballs, because they immediately go into, well, don't you love Jesus and hate the Illuminati? I'm like, yeah, eyes mean more than one thing, guys.
That's right.
Why is this such a prevalent like talking point? Like, have you met somebody in the Illuminati? Like, are we convinced that this is a big thing to contend with?
Yeah. We need to transcript out this video, highlight all the times we said Illuminati, in case people are looking for their Illuminati church logo. Go get some foot traffic on that.
I've got a little, it's so bad. I use the same jokes in all of the mood meetings. And and not because they get laughs, but just because I'm stuck in my ways, I guess. I don't know.
So no one's laughing, and we still use them.
I'm the comedian on stage that's just like, I'm like going out like, man, bombed another set tonight. Boy, I love this gig. Nobody laughed, but I had a great time.
It's all about making yourself laugh first, right? That's the most important thing.
Yeah. The other thing I'm seeing is like, if there's like the corner of a building or a mountain, and like if you added like some shadows or something, like does that make this more spicy?
I do love some dimension in that.
Throw a little dimension on it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is, I don't know if that's the move here, but I do conceptually like that. And I don't, this is where I always kind of like wing it too. Like, I don't know where that should start or end. I think it would go here and then. Okay, so I just learned something after doing this for 800 years. You can switch between the pen tool and like I had the direct select tool or the pen tool. And then while I had that still highlighted, I went to my pencil and just kept drawing.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
It's not real often that you need to use that, but it is there. All right. So that's kind of something fun, maybe. I feel like the sun, people love a sun, like, and that's kind of where we're going, like riffing off of. Like, what are other things that would add some more like storytelling to this?
Yeah,
I still feel like, I mean, this, some of the critiques we had on the others, I feel like I've seen it. I mean, I feel like I've seen, a lot of these, honestly.
Yeah,
but
simple icon circle logos to this degree of simplicity are very difficult in the sense that so many of them have been done. So that's,
like Aaron Draplin went out there, and then everybody's like, "Oh shoot, yeah, like let's make and absolutely zero shade on that guy, but like he like made a style famous, and then it also checked off a lot of boxes for millennial decision makers that love that type of stuff.
Yeah,
like the minimalism, and that's one way to show how outdoorsy you are and minimal.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating too, having meetings with different generations of clients, and like I can almost peg like what stuff is this. Like I see these people on the call, like what is he gonna like? What is she gonna like?
I'm interested to know what are kind of the generational tastes that you overall see between people. Like, what does Gen X tend to like and gravitate towards versus millennials versus baby boomers?
I would say one of the things is it's less of like a style. I think style is some of it, depending on part of the country. But like there is, like if over here you've got really like literal and then really like abstract stuff. So like think about back in the Old West, like you would have a boot on the outside of the place where you go get boots, right? And there's like the saloon is like the glass is clinking. There may or may not even be words on these signs, right? Very literal, really easy to digest and like explain, right? And then on the other end is like people who say, hey, if there's no story or like that other like little wink and a smile or like that thing to figure out, then we have failed. Like if I can't like, kind of unpack some layers, like it's awful. And then these people say, if I have to explain it, then it's failed. And I don't think either one of them are right or wrong. I think it's just like knowing your audience and where your brand should land and like what appetite you have for those conversations. Like in my mind, like a great logo, like somebody asks you, hey, how did you name Bright Coal? Or like, why did you pick X, Y, or Z thing? And I'm like, I'm so glad you asked. How many minutes do you have? I want to talk to you about this, right? And it like springboards into a conversation about, about mission, about like what the organization is doing. And sometimes people are like, hey, like, no, thanks. We're doing that other places and we don't need that to happen in the logo. But to answer your question in any kind of way, I would say generally the older the crowd is, the more they're over here. and the younger the crowd is, the more they're over here. But where the split happens between millennials and Gen Z and lower is millennials want that like hyper minimalistic deal, and Gen Z is really trying to soak up more of the vibes and doing that in a simple way. So it's different from the sharp and pointy like black and white minimalism, but neither one of them like really busy stuff typically, which is interesting.
It is interesting.
There's always like exceptions to the rule, and like plenty of conversations where it's like, oh, like y'all are very unlike what I was expecting. And I can't tell you how many times in those meetings people are like, can you try this? And I'm like, that's not going to look good, but I'm going to try it. And then I try it and it looks great. I'm like, oh, let's eat crow. You got to stay curious.
That's right. You never know. Great ideas come from everywhere.
Especially from Mudang. Is that his name?
Yes. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I was told it means bouncy pork, which is the perfect for a tiny hippo. A tiny road-crossed hippo.
I heard it's is it a boy or a girl?
Oh, I have no idea. I think it's a girl. I think it's a girl
also, and I think she has a sister that is way more like chill and nice, and she's kind of like the bad girl.
Oh, the rebellious pygmy hippo.
I wonder how many people are trying to like get those in their home now, and then like 2 years from there, they're like, oh, this was a horrible choice. Hippos are very dangerous and difficult to deal with.
Turns out they eat 50 pounds of grass a day. I don't know what hippos eat.
I know, I've seen them cruise through some watermelon rice. All right, this is feeling pretty like a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. I like the cutouts giving it some eye movement. Kind of like it's like a path up the mountain almost, like you're taking that journey up to the top.
Oh, come on, preach.
Which is like a good metaphor.
It's a good metaphor. Do you like left or right better? Like this is where you could really get into like this is where I struggle. I'm like the idea is somewhere over here, but I don't know which one of these is the... Yeah.
The little bottom white chunk coming out for some reason visually bothers me a little. So I'm going with the left one for me.
It's a left for me, dog.
It's a left for me, dog.
Have you ever done a project, like a real project, like collaboratively like this? Like, hey, we just had the meeting with the client. Let's you and me go bring our rough sketches and sit down and talk about it. And then, it's my project or it's your project, but we're going to go, riff raff on it.
Yeah, most of the time nowadays, I'm designing pretty much, by myself after, we talk about creative direction. But in past agency jobs, a lot of times I'll do some rough sketches or maybe even a pretty polished couple of logos. And then we'll have a meeting as a team with all the other designers.
Oh, that's so cool.
Talk about, and really beat it up and, leave your ego and leave your baby, your favorite at the door kind of thing. Because it's ultimately all about serving the client and telling their story appropriately. And the idea you like may not be the one that's actually the best. And that's a situation when a lot of eyeballs on a project really help bring out the best aspects of it, I think.
Yeah, that is a luxury that I've never experienced, and that sounds super cool. And also pretty scary if you're a young designer. But really healthy is just like I've always either been like the one guy doing it or getting somebody else to do it with some direction. So I've not firsthand experienced the collaboration station.
That's what we called it. Yeah.
Perfect.
I love that name.
I will label something in a heartbeat. Don't even worry about that. What if we just never, like, all Bright Coal projects now we're done live on screen, and we just never had any more closed door stuff that's just like, all right, you ready to go work on stuff? We're going.
Yeah. I am ready for my entire career to just be a podcast.
It's just one long live stream.
Yeah, it's a 24/7 just podcast, of me just doing my job. Like a Truman Show, but for the 21st century.
I think there are people out there that would that are trying to, like, make a career out of that. I feel like you're saying it as a joke, but I think that is some people's reality, and I think that sounds interesting.
Yeah. My next millennial, checkbox is going to be start a podcast.
You got to do it.
That's the next step.
You haven't lived until you've started a millennial podcast. Like that's a must-have item on the millennial bingo.
Yeah, that's right.
No, truly, like, from firsthand, like, it was one of those things where, like, I went through the stages of, like, okay, I'm going to try and go get on a bunch of podcasts because I like to talk and hear myself talking, and I have very smart ideas, and did that, enjoyed it. That was probably the best thing. I should have just stopped there. And I say that, but like I met so many cool people doing Making a Mark with Ashley Ulmer, and that was a blast. It was a great little season of life, and I learned a lot, and also like not like several Bright Coal current team members were guests on podcasts, so like it's not crazy to say that, like, I met them through that show, and so now to say it was a bad idea, whatever. I'm way off track now.
I think it's like how millennials make friends is you start a podcast and then you invite guests on it and they just become your friends.
Yeah, and
that's why I don't have any friends. I'm just kidding.
I'm trying to offload some friends, so if you need any to a good home. Just kidding. That's such a weird thing to say.
Which ones?
Not because I have too many friends, but because I don't need but like 2 friends. So that's a whole different dark story that we can talk about in another episode of Grade My Logo. Guys, thank y'all so much for hanging with us. Rachel, I feel pretty good about our work today. I feel like we took kid gloves and a scalpel, and we just kind of did some things to punch this up a little bit, like scanning this one versus this one, driving past it on a highway. This one's a little bit easier to process, and there's just a little, like, we solved the main problem, like layout and trying to give the eye a little bit more to do or kind of figure out here.
Yeah, I think it's great. I like where we ended up on it, and I think it's something that would serve them well, at least if we knew more about them. So, this has been really fun, and it was fun for both of us to collaborate on this, which we so rarely do.
It was great, and thank you so much, guys. Let us know down in the comments if you liked where we landed, or if we should have stuck with the Eye of Sauron concept, like I said in the first place. Until next time, adios, guys.
Bye.